Hi, and welcome back to the Kiana Experience. Today, I'm going to give you all the information you ever needed about makeup brushes, period. I asked the people on my Insta and my Facebook if they would much rather have a video on, what did I say? I don't remember. But anyway, the winner was, we want to know about brushes. So if you're interested in finding out which brushes are the most important and how to use them, keep watching. So jumping right into this video, I want to start with the eyebrow region and the brushes that I use for that. These are going to be brushes for anyone to use who are trying to do their eyebrows. That's filling them in, concealing them, and blending away that product, okay? So for that, I have a double-sided eyebrow brush. This particular brush is by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it has this pointed but angled tip, and if you can see the hairs, they're not really thick, they're like really fine and slanted. And then we have the spoolie tip. Okay, next we have a thicker kind of angled eyeliner or eyebrow brush. I like this thicker one for if I'm using like pomades and gels. Then for the concealer, you have another brush with this same slanted kind of tip. It's flat. This one is by Chanel, but it's a flat brush, and this is also good for dipping in product to put on. And then the concealer brushes, we have this flat tapered concealer brush. Let's see, yep, which is perfect for getting flat and up under those eyebrows. And then we also have this MAC 212 brush. Whoop, right. Whoop, there it is. Come on, come on. We have this MAC 212 brush, which will also do the same thing, dip right into some concealer. So I'm going to give you an example on one of my brows. I'm taking this double-sided brush. Now you can get a spoolie by itself. You can buy them in packs as mascara wands. I have like individual ones. I like to give them a little curve too, because it kind of just fits the brow and the direction of the hair. So I'm going to go in with this Anastasia, which brush is this? Number 14 brush. And I'm taking some of this liquid brow fiber just so you can see how it will work. So I'm going in and I'm putting just the tip on the brush. And then I'm making strokes. This brush is thin enough I can make hair-like strokes. It's picking up the product, but it's still small enough that I can provide that much detail. Now that's just a few little strokes. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. In this angled part of the brush, you see how it's going along the same direction of my brows. It makes it very easy for you to then follow along with the shape of your brows, add product, create hair-like strokes in the front, and then with the spoolie being on the back, right, we can brush everything into place. Now this is a super duper natural brow, and I take it that if you're just now learning how to, if you're just now watching a brush video, you're probably not looking for anything to be too dramatic. So I've taken this Anastasia Beverly Hills brush and I use the spoolie side to brush my brows. You can get a brush like this from e.l.f. Like I said, you can get two brushes, one side being that flat angled eyeliner kind of brush, one side being a spoolie. Buy spoolie separately. But if you're doing your brows, you're going to at least want one brush like this. Now, if for the second brush, for doing, let's say, concealer, I'm going to use this shape concealer brush. You can find this anywhere. Again, this is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's also a concealer brush. Hers is number 18, but if you look at this shape, it has kind of a domed, kind of curved shape, and the bristles are not that thick. That is for being able to go in places like underneath the eyebrow, underneath the eye, and I will show you with whatever concealer I can find. So I'm taking some of this bronze concealer. I like to use my hand. I also have a metal little palette sheet, but it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna take the concealer on this concealer brush, and I'm putting it on there. As you can see, I'm not being light with it. This particular brush, it's thicker at the bottom and then it gets thinner along the top. So once you put it up to your brow, it'll fall into that shape really nicely. It has this rounded edge so you can really get up under. I need to look in the mirror and stop trying to look in this phone. But it allows you to get really close up underneath the brow and with shape, and then you take it and you drag. So this allows you to apply the product, some good concealer. Now another concealer brush would be this flat one. I'm going to do the same thing, except for this one takes a little more control and skill. So I put that product on the tip of this brush. You see it curled at the end, and I'm going to do the same thing, find a flat place, but with this brush you're going to have to pick up and move the product instead of being able to just lay it down and glide with one stroke because it's so straight, right? So the next kind of brush we have are crease brushes or concealer buffing brushes or something like that, and they look like this. They go really good to take product. Like I would use a brush like this if I'm put on a shadow base or concealer like this. So I'm just gonna go in with shadow base because, or not even a shadow base, I'll just continue to use concealer for the sake of this video. But if I were using this concealer, let's say for an eyeshadow base, or I've already used my eyeshadow, I've already used my concealer, and I'm going in like for more of a natural look, I'm going to take a brush. Ooh, how fun is this? You look lovely, darling. Lovely, just lovely. So yeah, I'll take a brush like this. This one is from Shani, and it just says Angled Blender Eyeshadow. So this is like good for eyeshadow if you were doing like a smoky kind of all over single color on the lid and you just want to blend out a nice bronzy orange or something. This one says also Deluxe Crease Brush, but if you note how they look, the only difference is this one has kind of a flat angle and this one has a big fluffy dome. Elf has a brush like this. Sonia Kashuk has a brush like this. This one is Real Techniques. This one is Shani Cosmetics, who have amazing affordable brushes. Fan. Anyway, so taking a brush like this is great to blend and seam everything together. Because this brush is fluffier, it will kind of apply and erase at the same time. And when I say erase, you don't want the product to go away, but you don't want it to look like heavy concealer. So if I was just putting on concealer today and nothing else, just to make myself look awake, this brush is densely packed enough that it will erase the lines of where I place this product. And also make it very easy to blend out, especially for a beginner. You get a brush like this, you don't ever have to feel like, oh god, I just put on too much. Like, clearly you can see the difference that I've added concealer and it's kind of more awake, alive looking around and under my eyes. But it's mostly in part to the brush. Alright, so let's just say I'm going to go ahead and use this shiny brush to show the significance of this big angled blender eyeshadow brush. But when we get to eyeshadow, my most important brushes are, and will always be, especially these main two. The first one is hiding. Oh, here's one. The first one is going to be a flat eyeshadow shader brush. So that is for packing on color on the lid. When you have a brush like this, you're taking it into, let me just pull out a palette, taking Julia. So when you have a palette like this, a brush like this, the purpose of it is to be able to really pick up color. So I'm gonna go in with this orange, since I said orange earlier. And you see how much color is on here? I didn't even gotta put my finger up behind it, but it really picks up. Aside from this palette just being amazing and highly pigmented, this is great for picking up color. So now if I wanted to pack this orange all over my lid, a brush like this is great for getting right in that crease, right in that corner, right in that area. And now I'm just packing that on. This is for really building and applying an intense color. I did that with almost one dip inside of the palette. And again, it's how great the palette is, but also how the brush is picking up the product and applying it. This is not giving that loose blend like this brush, but you can take this brush with no product on it and put it in your eye, angled, and then just start blending. So that's what this brush does. This brush is a softener. I'm going in and a buffer. So I'm going in and I'm softening and buffing up that orange and bringing it all the way up to my brow bone. So now it doesn't just look like, yeah girl, you got smacked in the face with orange, ooh. You know, it looks intentional. There's dimension. And you take a brush like this again and continue to build. If you're like, okay, I really want that orange on my lid to be more intense than what I've dragged out, you know, to my crease, you keep packing it on with a brush like this. You can get flat with this brush. Let me pull back on this arm. You can get flat with this brush and follow your crease like that. So that's one eyeshadow brush. I'm gonna do the other eye with my other favorite eyeshadow brush to show you, well, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna do this eye to show you how I just blended that one color out, and then I'm gonna take another. This is the eyeshadow brush. This is the fluffy, dome-shaped eyeshadow brush. And these come from all different brands, all different sizes. One of these is Sonia Kashuk, one of these is Tarte, and one of these came from like Marshall's in the beauty section department. But as you can see, let's see, be great. As you can see, they all have that same kind of dome shape. Smaller at the bottom, bigger at the top, domed and wide. I think maybe the Sonia Kashuk out of these three is my favorite. The Tarte one is great, but it's not packed enough. It's not full enough, right? This one is great, but it's a bit, I'm not going to say too full because it does a great job, but it's a lot fuller than this one, so it can erase and buff more than you want it to. This one by Sonia Kashuk, I would say, is just right. It has enough fluff to buff and soften things up. It has enough I guess closeness in the bristles that it can still intensely apply some color but still soften it as you go. So I'm going to do this on this eye. I'm going to go in with the same orange, Dakar. You gonna try Dakar? Of the brushes. So this brush is clean. Now I'm going in with the Dakar, and I'm going to go close to where I ended this color, and I'm going to blend it out. Now I want you to see how this eye is going to have a lot more of that orange intensity, but it'll still be soft. So you see how you can see orange, more orange, and then less. Here it's like orange and then kind of gone. So using a brush like this will help be a good transitional color. So if I were working with more than one color than just this orange, I would probably say do the base with the fluffier brush. So if I was putting like a soft gold bronze in the background, I would go with the fluffy brush first, and then go in with the smaller brush, and then go in with the smaller brush. So now I'm going to try to kind of make these guys match. Let's get to the face. Now, there are three types, four types, lots of types of foundation brushes. There's going to be like your traditional flat foundation brush. Sometimes these have a tapered shape like the concealer brush. So it'll be a brush like this, but big like this and thick like that, you know? So for the foundation brush, let's just get into it. For the foundation brush, you have two options. You have this one that is like kind of a paintbrush, and with this you always want to go downward strokes from the center of the face and then start blending out. So I'm going to use these downward strokes all the way up, all the way down, and then I'm just using the very tip of this brush to blend this in. I'm actually not sure if this is my color. I've gotten tan since the last time I wore this. Clearly. Beach days. But even though this is a brush and it has bristles, you want to maintain your strokes going in the same direction. And even though it looks like I'm pulling down, I'm going up on the skin and just down back in the direction. So that's one of the types of foundation brushes. I'm going to go in with another type of foundation brush. So this is the Expert Face Brush by Real Techniques. This is a very densely packed brush with lots of bristles. So you'll see on this side when applying foundation, it's going to apply it in a little bit of a more spread out manner versus that thick one strike that I had to blend out. So using a dense brush like this, just for me, in my opinion, allows for a more even and more natural application. It also takes a little less time because it applies the foundation in such a spread out manner. Okay, so maybe it kind of matches me, but it's not a perfect match. If anyone is inquiring about the foundation, it is Chestnut from Too Faced Cosmetics, Born This Way line. So as you can see, using a buffer brush or a stippling brush, a brush that allows you to apply the makeup by pressing it into the skin, is a little bit easier. I prefer a brush like this if I'm going to use a brush. You know what I'm saying? But the final option, if you don't want to use a brush and you don't want to use a foundation brush or a regular brush, is a beauty blender, which I need to wet. So okay, so finally, the last brush or tool for applying your foundation, I would say, is the beauty blender, baby. Now look, I swear by this, okay? I love the beauty blender because it's porous, so the holes and the porosity kind of mimic the skin. I love that just like the densely packed brush, it allows for you to apply the makeup lightly, evenly at the same time. I don't know, I think the coverage just applies a little more full when you're using the sponge. Maybe it's because the more you press in one area, how much more quickly the product fills in. So like how I'm pressing up under my eyes right now, I haven't really moved from this area, but as you can see, my under eye area looks a little more made up than before, and then the rest of my face, let's say my cheek over here. If I'm using a brush, I would have to probably go over it 2 or 3 more times, but taking it with this sponge, I just kind of press in this area, the same area, for about 8 seconds, if even that, and it's already filled in so much more than say over here. the Beauty Blender is like the best remedy for trying to get this face on. Make sure I'm not missing no spots. I keep looking in this phone, like I said, instead of in this mirror. That's good enough. So next, we're talking about powder El Polvo brushes. So you've got the ones that have that beautiful tapered top, like this one from Real Techniques. I love this. This is technically, they say, a blush brush, but I use this for all over powder. It's so fluffy in its shape, so it'll be able to loosely apply the powder to where it's not all over. And for a brush blush, the same thing. Nobody wants orange, pink, red just on their face. They want a soft transition. So these being super fluffy, it's great for that. I am going to use one for powder, and then I am going to use one for blushing, just so you can see it in action. So I'm using this Julie Hewitt Los Angeles palette. My powder's kind of broken up in it, but what I am doing is, you can see, can you see? Yeah, you can see the dust from this. So this powder, even though it is pressed, is still quite light. So I'm going to take a brush like this, and I'm just going to press that all over my face to set it. Boom. I'm getting close so you can see I'm not playing the game. And this is not even me like chasing perfection. This is me thinking like the average girl who's not a makeup artist, who's not a whatever I am. Superstar. You know, I'm thinking about that girl. Like, she can do this. She can take this powder and be like, okay, ooh, I think that's what the girl said to do on YouTube. He was like, yeah, press, press, press powder, and look at how that looks. Is my California. Can you see it? California girls. I love the color because it's like orange and gold at the same time. Kind of reminiscent of like that orgasm blush, you know. Anyway, so I'm gonna go in here and just use the tip. The tip of this brush is going swirling in there. Just the tip of it is pink. And you can see I'm adding color to my face. I'm building up that color and no color, but it doesn't look harsh, and that's because of the type of brush that I'm using. Boom. So that's a blush brush. Now we're gonna go in with bronzers. This is the more appropriate for a bronzer brush right here. So I'm just gonna go in this Morphe palette and go in with one of these bronzers. I'm gonna go in with Fabulous since it's so dark and kind of orange. So you see how this one stroke of that brush picked up so much of that product. And this brush is made to fit, ooh, that looks so good, naturally into the contours of your face. It's made to hit all of these areas, like your forehead when you're bronzing and contouring. But because this is a thicker brush, this color is going to be more intense, and you kind of want that depth to be in there. I'll do it again on this side. This is also a very kind of easy peasy everyday look that I'm kind of throwing together, this brush tutorial. Now, I'm gonna take a brush. This is also an eyeshadow brush, but it's very thick. This is for smudging and shading. So let's say up under my eyes. Under my eyes, you wanted to add like some loosey shaded orange. This is automatically adding that orange, but it's also, oh, that looks so pretty. It's also softening it at the same time. This is also an eyeshadow brush, but you want to know what I like to use this brush for also? Because you know, brushes have more than one use, right? This is for eyeshadow. This is for getting in an area like this, especially if you're only using one color. This is for if I wanted to intensify right up in there. Been to red, right? So going in with a brush like this, I can add that red, that deep red, and it still looks blended. It still looks soft. It's not as harsh, even though the color is really intense. So I'm able to intensify this corner. I'm able to intensify this corner without overdoing it or going in with more product. So this is just a clean brush, and I'm just kind of fixing it. So I was using it, for example, say orange and red. But I would take a brush like that and use it to contour, fine-tune contour. So right now I'm going to use it on my nose. Same kind of brush, and for the same reason I want to use it on my nose is because it is going to allow me to have the precision of a something for contouring, but still soft enough that it's not still softened that I'm able to contour, but it's still soft enough that it doesn't look like a harsh line. So I'm gonna go right in. I'm gonna go right in. This looks a little red. I think I didn't do too great of a job of cleaning everything off. But by the time I blend it off, blend it. I'm gonna use the same little clean, semi-clean bristle again. By the time you go to blend it out though, it's visible, yet it's not intense. This is red as hell though, y'all. Who is calling me? Alright, so as you can see, while I was on my phone call, I had to soften that red because clearly I didn't clean it all out of my eyeshadow brush. So I'm just literally going in with that same initial powder that I highlight with to kind of tone it down. Then I'm gonna use a fluffy brush to wipe it away. Alright, I'm a firm believer in a lip liner. A lip brush is very important. The lip brushes that I'm highlighting today are probably not even lip brushes. Well, at least one of them are. And that is going to be this detailed lip brush by Sigma. It has the number L04, right? And then I've got this purple brush from Real Techniques. It's called an accent brush. So this is great for fine tuning just about any little thing. And then this little double-sided monster is also from Tarte. It's got like a little smudger and then a little liner brush on the other side. But I use this for a lip brush because I do. So nobody say nothing when you be doing your baby hair with a toothbrush, okay? There we go. Something. So, lining your lips using a lip brush. Really important. Like to see it? Here you go. I'm gonna use a mirror that I can grab way closer. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with this detailed lip brush. I like it because just like the eyeshadow brush, it's tapered, so I can get a really good point at the end of it. I should take off this gloss, huh? When I line my lips, start in the corner and work your way up so you can see where the brush is going versus going like this and then your hand being in the way when you get into the corners and stuff. So, going in. To totally line my lips. With this lip brush. Then I'm going to take this brush, this accent brush, and then go in with that brown nude. I don't care for this color actually. That's kind of boring. So let's learn another trick. I want to lighten it up because it looks a little too monochromatic for me. So now I'm going to take this fluffier brush because now we're not concerned about details as much as we were before. So I'm going into this light pink. Just that little bit of pinkness just does the trick. And because I'm using this brush, it's like feathering in this lighter pink. Good enough for me. Next, highlight brushes. So we got the fan brush, then we got a highlight brush. They do the exact same thing. So now I'm gonna go in to like just these two top goals and dust my face lightly. Now what I will say about the fan brush is that if you look at the top of this brush, you see how the top of the bristles are thinner and then you got the bottom ones that make it a little thicker. You can definitely see it from the side thin and then these fat little sides stick out. So because the fan brush is like that, sometimes it will intensely put the color where those shorter bristles are, which you can work around it if you just blend it out really good. But why do that when you can just get it right the first time? So I'm going to take this brush so we can just see the difference in how it comes out. And this brush, you definitely have to be kind of gentle with the touch, but it does the same thing. And you can find highlighting brushes. Anastasia Beverly Hills sells one, just a highlight brush, which I also have one of, or brushes that look like this. Aside from not having on mascara yet, this is basically a finished look. I'm gonna put on mascara even though I'm absolutely not going anywhere because I just would feel weird doing all of this and not having on mascara. So yeah, bear with me, I'm gonna do this. So and that is it. This completes my little tutorial on brushes. I was able to show you how to use some of the most important brushes to achieve a full face of makeup, to achieve brows, to achieve lips, to achieve a foundation, some contouring and highlighting and whatever. So I thank you for your time today. If it's your first time seeing my channel, please subscribe because I want you and I need you here. If you've already been back, like a video, leave me a comment. I thank you for your time and I will see you next time on the Kiana Experience.